Welcome back to Ravens Today. I'm your host, Connor Gioffreda, giving you all the latest updates on anything and all things Ravens. Bit of a different video for today, everyone. So we're going to go over the latest interview rounds that the Ravens have for the head coaching position. Also, disclaimer, John Harbaugh most likely is going to the Giants because they are trying their very hardest to get him over there. Okay. According to reports, sending him a bunch of offers with money, giving him a lot of leverage, flying him up to New York to, visit the team. So it looks like that John Harbaugh might be leaning towards the Giants, which I'm totally fine with. He can go over there and he can stay over there. All right. But anyway, we're going to dive right into it. So, a few rounds of coaching interviews. One of them was the Browns defensive coordinator interview, who was Jim Schwartz. Schwartz is a defensive coordinator through and through. He's always been one. He's never been anything outside of that. In terms of experience on the offense. So he started out as the Titans defense. In terms of highlights, he's had numerous coaching jobs throughout the years. But we're going to dive into the highlights. So Titans defensive coordinator from 2001 to 2008. Lions head coach from 2009 to 2013. During his tenure as the Lions head coach, he went 29-51 in the regular season. Had one playoff appearance in 2011, lost that playoff appearance to the New Orleans Saints. Bills defensive coordinator in 2014, went on to become the Eagles defensive coordinator from 2016 to 2020, and has been the current Browns defensive coordinator since 2023. I don't think the Ravens are going to go with this. Mind you, I like this aspect up here because they're not looking at special teams guys. They're looking at defensive coordinators. They're looking at coordinators. They're not looking at emergency special teams, passing game coordinators. They're looking at guys who have experience on one end of the ball. And the Ravens have always been known to have a really awesome defense and a really scary defense. Mind you, we didn't really have that the last couple of seasons with Zach Moore. So going this route with defensive coordinator possibly taking over as head coach for the Ravens, I like that, but not Jim Schwartz. Mind you, the Lions have been in the dark ages for years, and then when Dan Campbell came along, it was amazing for that. But he wasn't. Schwartz was not on the Lions coaching staff when Dan Campbell came in. That was years later. So I'm not really thrilled about this. But again, Bisciotti said it best. We're interviewing everyone, and he will have a say when it's narrowed down to the last 6 or 7 candidates. So I don't think this is going to go anywhere. Schwartz will probably stay the Browns defensive coordinator, which I'm fine with. The Browns stink. So but again, we'll just have to wait and see. Chargers defensive coordinator was also interviewed. This is a heck no, by the way. This is a no. We're still going to go into the highlights here, but this is a no through and through because he is a Harbaugh guy. Getting into that. Jesse Minter, in terms of highlights, he was the Ravens defensive assistant from 2017 to 2020. This is because he's a Harbaugh guy. Michigan defensive coordinator from 2022 to 2023. That's when they won the national championship. Michigan did. That was also under Jim Harbaugh, and he has been the Chargers defensive coordinator since 2024. This is a hard no for me. Want to know why? Because he is a Harbaugh guy. No, we need to cleanse ourselves from that. He was a coach under John Harbaugh, was a coach under Jim Harbaugh, still is a coach under Jim Harbaugh, and besides, the Chargers defense isn't very good. Okay, so yes, he won a national championship with Michigan, but again, it's a hard no for me because he's a Harbaugh guy. I don't want any remnants of Harbaugh here. Except Mike McDonald. I'll happily take him back. That's the only guy I would allow to be able to be head coach of the Ravens, but that's probably never going to happen. Tears of sadness. But no, this is a hard no for me. We need a new blood. We still need to keep the culture that Harbaugh made, but a new voice in terms of the head coaching for the Baltimore Ravens. We're Rams defensive coordinator was also interviewed, Chris Shula. He's been with the Rams for many years. He was Rams defensive assistant coach. He was the Rams defensive linebacker coach. He was promoted to defensive coordinator in 2024. He's been with the Rams since 2017. So in 2024, he was promoted to DC. He's a Super Bowl champion with that Rams team. Remember, the Rams won the Super Bowl against the Bengals during that time when everyone was getting injured, and the Bengals, with a healthy Joe Burrow, were able to get into the playoffs and have been the only team in the last 5 or 6 years that have beaten the Chiefs in the playoffs. When the Chiefs have made the playoffs, so anyway, has been on a Super Bowl winning coaching staff. Has been the Chargers, had some experience on the San Diego Chargers too, but not before they went to LA. And this is a hard no for me. Hard no for me again. Why? Because, mind you, the Rams' defense to me is extremely shaky, and it's probably not his fault. He can deal with injuries and stuff like that, and he's been in that position before, but he hasn't been like a real coordinator in a Super Bowl winning team. Yes, he was a defensive, linebacker coach during that time, and he was promoted to defensive coordinator just recently. So to me, he doesn't have that much experience under his belt as a defensive coordinator, as like the place before you become a head coach. I'm just again, we're interviewing everyone that's open, so take it with a grain of salt. This doesn't mean that we're going to go with Minter. This doesn't mean we're going to go with Schwartz. This doesn't mean we're going to go with Shula. We'll get to the next guy in a second. It's just that we're interviewing everyone, and we're just going over the stats and the highlights of every of their coaching history. So, again, last bit here. Ravens also interviewed Bills offensive coordinator Joe Brady. Joe Brady is an interesting one. He's the one that helped Joe Burrow elevate his game and win a national championship in 2019 when he was the LSU passing game coordinator and QB head coach. So, had experience with being able to develop quarterbacks. Mind you, Lamar, needs to evolve. Maybe Joe Brady's that guy to help him evolve. He's been with the Bills from the 2022 to the present as their QB coach, and then was promoted to the offensive coordinator in 2024. No, for me. Sorry. The Bills are very shaky in terms of their offense. Josh Allen needs to run everywhere, or they just use hook to score touchdowns. It is very shaky to me, and I don't trust that at all. He doesn't have true coordinator experience. He has 1 or 2 years under his belt, and has never been a head coach. Again, still interviewing everyone. It doesn't mean we have to interview for a guy that has been a head coach before, but at the same time, it helps a little bit to know that there's a guy out there that has this level of experience. But it's, mind you, I've already said my dream coaching staff, which is Kubiak, head coach, Mike McDaniels, offensive coordinator, Brian Flores as defensive coordinator. But that's a far-fetched dream scenario. But we're just continuing the process of interviewing everyone, and hopefully we, get more updates as we go along to see if there are more interviews, or we finally narrow down some candidates in the next couple of weeks. Thank you for tuning into Ravens today. I'm your host, Connor Gioffreda. Again, thank you guys so much for tuning into the show. Subscribe to the channel, like the video. I will catch you all later.